Did you get the picture? That's not a picture of Patrick Stewart. That's not who I'm interviewing. No, not Ben Kingsley. Why did Bruce Willis stop working out? No, that's not Dr. Evil. No, this is Ron Ruth. He has a Mickey Mouse light on his desk right behind him. Yeah, he's a Disney geek. The Kansas City Royals? No, I'm not going to bring that up, and probably not a good idea. Yeah, I'm a little nervous welcoming him on the show. I heard he gets very confrontational and swears a lot. Funky.
Are you there? I can't hear you now.
I'm just joking. You could hear.
Okay.
Sorry.
Smart ass.
It's my pleasure to introduce to you Ron Ruth. Ron, thanks so much for coming on the show. Can't hear you. Ron, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Kiss my ass. This sucks. I don't like this. Tell me how this works for you. You're crying out loud. Get the hell out.
Yeah.
You want my good side or my other side? We could do, or bald. We could show off.
Right.
We could
Let's
paint
start it like that.
Wouldn't it be fun to paint like little eyes and a nose and
right here? Actually, I could probably put about 70 eyeballs on mine.
Yeah,
just gigantic.
So nobody knows if we have hair or not.
That's kind of what I do in pictures anyway. I mean, I try to just block it off and it just looks better.
My grandfather had a full head of hair and curly, and I got screwed. Right.
I look like Bob Ross from The Joy of Painting before I lost my hair, so I had a lot of it.
I got this pair of granny panties, so it's like, a size 50.
Maybe I could sing for you while you're figuring this out. Oh, not tonight, then.
This isn't just any ordinary tale. It is Dirk and Jillian's love story. And the guests all went, aww. Their story begins during the 2010 fall semester at UMKC. Your beautiful bride, Jillian, was a junior studying music therapy, and your handsome groom, Dirk, was a civil engineering freshman. They were also teammates on the cross-country and track team. The only love Dirk and Jillian shared at the time was for running, and there was no hint that any of us would have a reason to be here this evening, primarily because
I was shy.
Yeah, he was pretty shy. We didn't talk a whole lot at first until Facebook, I think. I guess I probably added him on Facebook because he apparently doesn't have to add anybody.
that Facebook acquaintance cracked open a door of communication for your newlyweds. During the second month of the fall semester, Jillian reached out to Dirk only as a friend and a teammate.
I ended up inviting him to come to church with me. It seemed like at first he went home a lot for the weekends. And I even told him, I said I wanted him to get the college experience, like staying in the city for a weekend at least instead of just going home.
Even though Dirk appreciated Jillian's invitations,
I enjoyed going home. I had a nice home life, and I didn't want to totally abandon it, I guess. It was more comfortable to go home to go to church.
yeah, there was that. Then there was that whole shy Dirk thing, plus the fact that maybe he was just a little intimidated by Jillian. And all that went on and continued through the spring semester of 2011, when in March, he finally agreed to take Jillian up on her invitation to attend church together. That one Sunday service led to others, and before long,
We would go grab lunch or something. And I guess that's when we started becoming best friends, really, because then we'd hang out during the week, too.
as spring turned to summer,
By that May of 2011, we would hang out multiple times a week, watching movies together, just kind of hanging out and talking. It was all best friends at that point.
It was really a friendship that was very, very meaningful to me.
Hang on. Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that wasn't what caused it. Go. Come on, Jim. Let's do this. Come on.
It's my it's my pleasure.
Introduce me.
It's my pleasure to introduce to you Ron Ruth. Ron, thank you so much for coming on the show.
I'm thrilled to be here, Jim. I'm thrilled. Thrilled. Absolutely thrilled.
Woohoo. All right. So you have 25 years under your belt as an entertainer. Tell me about the first wedding you performed as a Master of Ceremonies.
First wedding I ever did. Oh my gosh. So what was that? So the first wedding I ever did had to be probably 1993, something like that. I had my experience at DJing up to that point had been doing rock and roll. See, when I started my company, that's how it got started. We were doing rock and rolls all across Kansas City, and people at rock and roll saw that, you know, I was a pretty cool DJ at rock and roll, so they'd come and they want us to do, like, you know, can you do a private party? Can you do a wedding? Can you do? So I did a wedding, probably I'm guessing 93. It was in a clubhouse, an apartment clubhouse, and I don't even remember people. I don't think people really danced a whole lot. It was probably I think it was an afternoon event. But I did what wedding DJs did back then. You know, you just showed up, you played music, and people danced fine. If they didn't, that was their problem. So, but that was probably my first wedding.
So you have a theater background. Tell me about that and when it merged with performing at weddings.
Well, my theater background, thank you for asking about that. Nobody ever asked about my theater background. I love theater. I love live theater. I've always loved live theater. When I was a kid, my family, outside of my mom, everyone in my family was musically inclined. My mom couldn't even whistle. That's how bad she was. But everyone in my family played some sort of a musical instrument. We started all very young. My dad started this at a young age. So I was like in third grade when my dad, I started taking trumpet lessons. And I don't even know how I got into the trumpet, other than I think my dad used to play cornet at some time when he was a boy. So in the early stages of learning to play the trumpet, my father was actually the teacher. He was the one that would teach me how to play the instrument. But it was from that over years, you know, you get in band, and then you start playing in talent shows, and I'd play in the orchestra pit for theaters. And then I was like, I don't want to be in the pit. I want to be on stage. And so I started taking acting classes in high school and doing, I auditioned for, and it was in, almost every musical and play that was produced in the 3 years that I was in high school. I just loved it so much. So then I went off to college, and I went off with the intent of getting a degree in theater with an emphasis in directing. And while I was in college, I had the opportunity to direct a couple of shows, kind of off-Broadway type stuff. I mean, it was small, not on the main stage. It was usually in a spare room somewhere, but that actually made for a great challenge of how are you going to change this little space into an actual theater environment.
Sure.
And of course, summer stock, and I always wanted to be, I wanted my name in lights on Broadway, or be a headliner in a movie. But as close as I got to the movies was actually managing movie theaters. I spent 25 years in the movie theater business before actually getting into what I'm doing now. But so I managed theaters, I managed people who managed theaters, and I traveled all around the country. I worked for a couple of different companies in Kansas City, Oklahoma City, Albuquerque, Houston. I was all over for that 25 years. So.
Sure, but your passion for that, when you loved theater so much, and I'm sure you still do, so I'm sure you could take a lot of what you learned from that and I guess apply that to what you do as a skill as a Master of Ceremonies. It seems like it's very intertwined as far as the improv aspects of that. So tell me about when you were performing, and how you used improv to your advantage when something happened or went wrong or went off the dialogue.
I think there's, if you don't mind, I'm going to back up just a second. There's something about once any individual performs before a live audience, for me, back when I was a kid playing trumpet in talent shows or performing on stage, there's just something about once you've been on stage and you've gotten that approval of an audience, whether it's a laugh, a sigh, a tear, the applause, it's like a drug. And, you know, I obviously for almost 25 years, I didn't really have an opportunity to perform per se, but I still directed people in a sense. I mean, I would direct crowds of people. So I was able to somehow master that part. But they're getting into what I was doing now was learning again, how do you connect with an audience again, where you can get that approval from them, where you can feel that, you know, that there's just something about it. You know, if you just go into an event with the idea that you're just there to do a job and you're just going to go through the motions of doing that job, to me, that would be an empty life for me. I need, I gotta have all of those things that go with it. And you asked about improv. Improv is something that I just started doing about 3.5, 4 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I don't know why I waited so long to do it, because I'd been thinking about it for a couple of years. But the one thing I learned from improv is something I know that Bill Herman teaches in the entertainment experience, and that's about being in the moment. Because when you're doing improv, you don't have a choice, because there's no script that you're working off of. You have to listen to every word that's being said to you so that you can react to what is being said. I mean, otherwise it would make no sense. A scene would be senseless, and have no meaning. And one of the things I learned from improv, surprisingly, even after being in this business as long as I've been in it, how much it helped me, not only in an event, but how much it helped me in a sales presentation. Because in a sales presentation, it's so easy to get ahead of the person in front of you. They're, you know, tell me about yourself. And while they're talking, you're going, yeah. Okay, so after they get done talking, here's going to be my next question.
Right.
And you know, you can, that worked for me for a while, but it works much better if you're actually responding to the thing. If you're actually involved in that conversation and making that connection with the couple, rather than just listening, reacting, responding. You're listening and you're reacting instead. There's a huge difference, and I think it's helped me a lot in making a connection faster with couples than what I've ever been able to make before. Plus, it also helps at a wedding, because it makes you more observant of your surroundings and what's going on, and taking advantage of a moment, that unexpected moment, and turning it into something. You know?
Yeah, sure. And it's something I need to improve and learn how to do myself, because there's plenty of events that I've done where I've scripted out what I was going to say and the flow of how things are going to happen. And then a 3-year-old comes walking out to the center of the room and starts to get in front of me as I'm introducing a moment, and then kind of going with that and being in the moment and just knowing how to do that, and instead of kind of stuttering and not knowing how to handle it.
Yeah, it's easy. That's what would have happened to me. And even, you know, we all have little things happen to us too. I mean, forget about what's happening in front of us. Little things happen to us at times. And for me, I'm like you. I'm very scripted. Everything I do is very, very scripted. I don't go into a wedding without having everything written out.
Yeah.
And so up until, you know, a few years ago, I mean, if it wasn't part of the script, it would irritate me because this happened. And now it doesn't bother me anymore. It just, let's, and I think the beauty of it is that the connection I try to make with the couples I work with, and I won't even say try to make, the connection I make with the couples I work with is one that it's a lot easier for me to improvise at an event than it used to be, because there's a trust factor here. There's a relationship going on. They know I'm not going to do anything that's going to embarrass them. They trust me. And so if I go off script for just a few moments, it's not the end of the world.
Sure.
And if I mispronounce a name, it's not like, oh my God, I mispronounced. No, I mean, you go with what stuff happens. Man, we are
Yeah.
human beings.
Sure.
You know, and as much as we want to believe that, you know, or try to even convince other people that, God, we're so good, we're perfect. No, it just doesn't work that way. So.
It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't. And so thinking about a wedding, and a wedding you did that had a profound impact on you.
It's easy because actually this wedding has come back to me over the past few months. So the first 10 years that I was in business, I think I was doing what every other DJ in the world was doing. Like I said, you pretty much, you made a few announcements, you played some music, you dressed in a tux, you know, you did the stuff. But in 2001, I heard Mark Farrell and heard the Getting What You're Worth message and all of that. And that had a profound effect on me. But the problem with it was the one unspoken part of the worst message is the why is awesome. It's the how. The how was much more difficult because I really didn't understand how to, you know, you can't sit in front of a couple and say, well, I'm worth, as an example, just as an example, I'm worth $1,200. My fee is $1,200. So why is your fee $1,200? Well, because that's what I'm worth. You know, nobody listens to that. So you have to learn how to sell. So then I met Peter Mary. I think it was in about 2003. And Peter was traveling with the ADJA, and he did a presentation called Better Consultations Lead to Better Bookings. I'm almost certain that's the name of the presentation. Forgive me, Peter, if you're watching and I'm wrong, but it's close. And he was doing this as a part of the ADJA to get chapters to sign up with the ADJA, local chapters. Here in Kansas City, we had a small group. He wanted us to be members. And so the one thing the profound thing about what he was talking about was relationship building with a couple in that sales consultation, which is something I never even thought about trying to do. I mean, it was all sales presentations were all pretty much the same. And for some DJs, it's still the same. Here's what I tell. Okay, so somebody comes to you, well, here's what I do. I come for 4 or 5 hours. I play music. I have a library. I have a sound system. I dress in my tux, and you know, everybody's going to be happy. That was the way a sales presentation was done, but you could make no money doing it that way either. I mean, that you were an average, if you were offering an average performance, you were going to get an average fee. So Peter taught how to do a sales presentation, but more than that, what I really took away from that was connecting with people, because that's really what he was teaching. So I met a couple in 2003, Anita and Kevin Welch. And both of them were school teachers, high school school teachers here in the Kansas City area. And at this time also, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. This time also, I was getting into doing love stories. And my version of a love story is a lot different than what was being done at that time. I do an audio enhanced love story. In other words, I interview the couple, I get them on hard drive, and then when I write their love story, I actually go back and I pull little snippets of things they'd said, so that I'm actually narrating the story, but I have them talking about how they met, where they met, when they met, all the way up, everything all the way up to the proposal. Okay, so it's their words, not mine. Okay?
I love that.
Okay, so, oh, then we should talk about my workshop sometime, but here to there. So anyway, so because I was doing it that way, and it was the reason I chose this path was because I didn't know any other way to do it. A questionnaire would have probably been easier, but for some reason, questionnaire never even came to my mind. It was, hey, let's just get them on hard drive. And then that way also, I had a fear factor of, I never want to get something wrong. I want to make sure that I'm always right. So if I have them on hard drive, I can always go back and re-listen to everything they tell me, so that I'm certain that I'm correct. Again, I'm that detailed. I'm that guy. So Kevin and Anita was the first couple, one of the first couples that I was using this love story form with. But they were in before this time, I really never knew a whole lot about my couples. I didn't really care. I mean, you're just booking me to play 4 or 5 hours at a wedding. Mm-hmm. I didn't, okay, I got your playlist. I'll do all that. But I didn't know who these people were. I didn't understand the value of what I was doing for them. I didn't understand I didn't understand the impact that I was having on their life, the impact that I was having on this moment in their life. So with Kevin and Anita, high school teachers, that's how they met. Their love story included a story of Anita being a breast cancer survivor. And Anita's story, she was a survivor at the time that they met, and she would participate in marathons for cancer survivors. And Kevin, God, this gets to me. I mean, just telling you a story is killing me. So Kevin would go to these marathons with her, and he didn't run them, but what he would do is on those points where they get a drink of water or whatever, he would be at those stations every time she ran, and he would give her a rose.
Oh.
And he was always there at the end of the marathon to greet her and to and to hug her and to congratulate her. And he was just he is the most supportive individual ever. It was during that, listening to that story, and then actually having to tell that story to couples,
right?
I mean, to an audience. And it was the first time and the only time. Normally a snippet of information for me on a love story is no more than about 12 seconds. Mm-hmm. I begged the audience, when I did this story, I said to them something to the effect of, I don't normally do this, but it's important that you hear all of this instead of just a piece of it. And I played like a 90-second clip of them talking about that.
Oh, wow.
And it was at that moment I realized what my purpose was. Mm-hmm. Realized that this is more than just a celebration of marriage. This is a celebration of life in general, or a moment in life. This is something that, DJs, I don't know if they think about it, but we are in the photos and of these events that are being taken. And I want, when people look back on these photos, I want them to look back and when they point to me, instead of saying, when having somebody say, who is that guy there? I instead of having the bride and groom say, well, that was our DJ, I want them to say, that's Ron.
Right.
That's Ron. He did this and that and the other. The reason I'm telling all of this story is that recently, and the reason why this has come back to me over the past few months is that Anita is back in chemo and has had a really rough time over the past month or so. And I've been following her very closely on Facebook. And she is one of the bravest individuals I have ever encountered in my life. Listening to her talk about getting back from her chemo. She's still teaching. Now she's teaching college. And she talks about how she just completed chemo. I'm going to rest for a little bit, and then I'm going to go teach. Mm-hmm. I mean, her life goes on. I mean, that's the way it is for all of us. But seeing that recently has had an even more profound effect on me, because it makes me, again, it just really emphasizes that we're not, our purpose, my purpose is to change somebody's life for the better, to make it somehow better, to bring them happiness, if even for just a few minutes, even if it's only for a 3, 4, 5 hour time span. That's my purpose, is right. to fill that time, is to allow them an escape from everything else that's going on around them in the world, to bring them into a place where they're safe and they can enjoy and they don't have to worry about anything except having fun and celebrating. That's my purpose.
Yeah. And when you played that 90-second clip, was it hard for you not to lose your composure, or did you, in fact?
Oh, no, I lost it.
Yeah.
I lost it. And so did the guest. I mean, sure. I don't want to take anything away from any other DJ in the world, but if you can't laugh at an event, or enjoy yourself at an event, or cry, feel if the mood hits you to shed a tear, or then you're not into that event.
Yeah.
to be honest, you should be doing something else. I
Mhm.
mean, you're going back. Let's go back to just briefly. This all connects to the theater question that you asked me earlier. You know, method acting is actually really totally being involved in a part and in a moment, and that's really what we do. If we're doing it, in my opinion, if we're doing it right, there may be people that disagree, but in my opinion, if you're doing it right, then you're going to be emotionally involved every step along the way. And that's why I don't refer to my clients as clients. I refer to them as creative partners, because without them, I would not be able to do without them actually being active participants in the process of planning and designing their event, I would not be able to perform my function. I would not be able to provide them, fulfill my purpose and provide them with all the things I just told you about. So.
Right. And just for a couple to go back, instead of saying there's a DJ in the background, and say, no, that's Ron, and have that relationship with you established where you're part of their family, in essence, because you're there with the family and friends, and they know you so well, and you've developed that rapport with them ahead of time and getting to know them.
I've had couples say to me, well, I don't necessarily want to do that kind of a love story, but I will still do the interview, just because to me, it's an important part. It's a very important part of the process, because through that conversation that I have with them, not only do I find out about their relationship, I find out about the things that they share in common, the things that they enjoy doing most together, their hot buttons, their cold buttons, their hobbies. I mean, I'm able to connect with them on a level where now, because that usually happens in my first consultation with them. So the second time I meet with them, I'm armed with all sorts of ideas that are going to be more suited to their personality and style. I don't want to shotgun people ideas, because then I'm wasting their time. What I want to do is offer you something that is going to be something that is people will look at that one thing, that personal touch, and go, oh, that's so John and Sally. I mean,
right.
Goodness, that is so them. So I give Randy Bartlett, for those of you who don't know Randy Bartlett, check out 1% Solution. I mean, Randy Bartlett is a legend in his own mind. But Randy Bartlett, I recall maybe 2002, 2003, was doing a presentation from the stage at Mobile Beat, and he talked a little bit about the love story, and he showed a clip of a love story that he did. But the one thing I remember, he showed clips of all sorts of fun things that he was doing at wedding receptions. But the one thing that he said that has always stayed with me is that he'd say, don't try to copy what I do. Make my ideas your own.
Right.
And so in reality, that's kind of what I was doing with the Audio Amazing Love Story is that I took that idea and made it my own. And as far as I know, I'm the only one. Well, I take that back. I found out there is one other DJ in the country that does something very, very similar to what I do. But there's very few of us that do it that I know of. Right now, I only know of 2. If there's more, please tell me. I'd love to hear about it. So.
And I think what I struggled with once I first purchased the 1% Solution DVDs and Peter Mary's DVDs that he released, and other professionals who put some products out there, I think that was the problem I was running into. I was just replicating. Because I didn't know how to put a creative spin on it yet. I hadn't figured that out with the different ways of doing things. And
that's why I think social media. I mean, I agree. I mean, it can be difficult. It's easy sometimes just to say, oh, well, I can do it. That's why right now in this world that we live with social media, and I'm the old guy in the room. So, I think, I'm not a big fan of social media right now with trying to help people. What I'm seeing right now is DVDs are one thing, because you're investing in your education. You have to pay for DVDs. But what I'm seeing right now is a lot of people with their hand out going on social media and saying, hey, I got this happening. What do I do? We are in one of the most creative industries in the universe in what we do. if you are in one of the most creative industries in the universe, then it should go without saying that you are a creative individual in order to be in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're a creative individual, that means that you should be working your imagination muscles every day of the week.
Right.
What can I do? What can I do to make this better? How can I make this better? If you need inspiration, find the inspiration to make that happen.
Sure.
But this is kind of like my public service editorial comment. If you're an individual that has a question, I love questions. I love helping people. But if you're going to come to a crowded room of people and say, I have this situation and I don't know what to do, what should I do? In other words, here's my hand, I have it out, fill it. Then I don't really want to be of help to you. What I want to help, who I want to help is the person that comes into the room and says, I have this situation coming up, this event, and they want to do this. Here's some ideas that I have.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, because it's showing that they're trying to come up with something and they have a couple ideas instead of just saying, I have nothing here. Give me.
Right, and that's why I think it's defeatist of our industry to be constantly handing out free information. I just, without asking anything in return. And here's the again, old guy in the room, so I'm going to take advantage of the moment, and that is another editorial comment here. Also, when somebody helps you, say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I see people all the time. I have people all the time contact me about, I want, okay. But I never hear a thank you. I see people online do the same thing. They ask and people respond. And nobody ever says, well, I won't say nobody, that's pretty general. But I see a vast amount of people not have the courtesy to say thank you. You're not owed anything. If you're going to come and ask for stuff and somebody helps you, say thank you. Only makes sense.
If someone is coming and they have some creative ideas, then it's worthy, I think, of helping somebody. But if you have someone that has nothing and they're just kind of taking, and say, no, I'll use.
Well, all that does is just encourage that behavior.
Yes.
If you're not looking at something with your own imaginative spirit, I could give you, you could come to me and say, how do I do this? And I could say, well, here's the way to do it. But that may have been a way that worked for me. Who knows if it's going to work for you? I mean, there's a story. Peter was doing a presentation one time at a bridal show, Peter Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about the special thing that he did for one of his couples. I won't bore you with all the details, but he was talking from the stage about this special thing. He even showed a video clip of what it was that he did. There was another DJ that was participating in that bridal show that day, turned to me and said, oh, I'm going to try that. I have a wedding tonight. That would be perfect. No, it wasn't. As a matter of fact, a day or two later, he said, well, that idea sucked because it didn't work that way. Well, duh. Two different couples, different personalities, different style. No, I spoke a moment ago about my purpose. Bill Herman, I know, talks about in the entertainment experience about purpose, your why. Why are you doing this?
Right.
You don't just do something because I had a photographer come to me one time, and maybe you've had this happen to you. Have you ever had a photographer come to you and say, oh, before you do the garter, I got this great idea that you're going to love this. This is going to be so much fun. Before you do the garter, just get him out there and let me go talk to him. And I remember this photographer, and I said, no, what is it that you want to do? Tell me what I've got this great bit, I got this pair of granny panties. So it's like, a size 50, and I'm going to give it to him. And then when he comes out from underneath the garter, he's going to hold it. Oh, everybody's going to love it. I went, no. Actually, what I said to him was, wow. Have you met the groom? Because this is not anything like the groom's personality. These people were pretty, I won't say that they were.
Watch out.
Yeah. I mean, this is not the couple to be doing this with.
Yeah.
You just, no. So, I mean, just because you think it's a great idea, and maybe it worked at another wedding, doesn't mean, I mean, we've all played songs that, hey, that song worked great at that wedding, should work at this one. Clear floor.
Right.
I know DJs that think it's really a great idea to have the guy that caught the garter put it on the girl that caught the bouquet. I think that's the tackiest thing ever, in my opinion, because she may be there with her boyfriend. He's probably there with his girl. I mean, come on.
I can't agree more. But thinking of a situation and knowing the couple and having that connection and building that connection with them through the planning process, knowing who they are, that's a wonderful thing about being able to represent them on the microphone in front of their friends and family, because you have that connection. So they know and they feel rest assured you're not going to throw in a surprise. And if they're not a couple, for example, who really likes to be on the dance floor, be the spotlight of attention, even though they are, because it's their wedding day, maybe they just don't want to be forced out to the dance floor. And if you were to do that and bring in, now we're going to have John and Betty come on up to the dance floor, and they kind of look at you and go, wow, I wasn't, or you try to do a snowball game or snowball dance.
Or an anniversary dance or something like that.
Something, and it's just not in their comfort zone. But knowing that ahead of time with these planning sessions that you've had, building that rapport and having that connection with the couples allows you to know them well. So when you have another vendor in a situation where they're asking you to do this and put on the green granny panties or whatever it is before the garter, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. They didn't build that connection, obviously.
Well, and it's just some things, in my opinion, that are just, wedding is just not the right place for it, I guess. Sure. Just, it's just like, I don't know. There's certain games you're not going to play at a wedding that you'll play at a picnic, but
I agree.
But it's kind of funny because personalities and style. I mean, there was a time when you used to ask a bride and groom, what is it that you want? And they would always, the one thing that they would tell you they didn't want was, I don't want it to be cheesy.
Yes.
I mean, and actually that was every seminar and workshop I attended. I remember that, every bride and groom, they don't want it to be cheesy. And you rarely hear that term anymore, but I mean, nobody ever said, oh, I don't want it to be cheesy. Most of them just say, I want it to be fun and I want people to dance. But cheesy used to mean, okay, no chicken dance, no hokey pokey, no Macarena, and no YMCA.
Yes.
And I remember having a bride sitting in front of me saying, I don't want it to be cheesy. And I said to her, that means no hokey pokey, no Macarena, no YMCA, and no chicken dance or something to that effect. And she goes, oh, no, right. We have to have a Macarena. It's like, okay.
So I think that shifted from cheesy to now that comes across when a couple says, well, we don't want our MC or DJ to talk on the microphone a lot and talk too much.
Oh, yeah. And unless they have something to say. I mean, and again, it still all comes back to the same reason why people quit doing the hokey pokey and the Macarena and the YMCA is because there was always some DJ that would embarrass somebody somehow.
Yes.
And that's why the reason people say, I don't want my DJ on the microphone so much is because they went to a wedding and they saw that happen. Otherwise, they wouldn't know to not ask for that. I mean, that it happens because this is what happened. They saw it happen somewhere.
For sure. Ron, thank you so much for coming on the show. You've been so supportive for me personally. When I've had questions, I posted them in various groups about situations or difficult situations and how to handle them, which thank you very much. Your advice was helpful for one event I did about 3 months ago for a couple, for a mother of the bride who was very difficult. And the bride emphasized that ahead of time and her concern about that come time for the wedding. Before
you let me go though, I saw you wrote a post on Facebook the other day on one of the sites that I belong to about an event that you did this past weekend. And
yeah.
Whether you want to do it now or do it some other time, I think it's really important that you tell that story. That's a great story that you have in that post, and maybe you'll devote a podcast to telling these types of stories, because I think that's the story of the event that you did. Talk about being in the moment.
Yeah.
Talking about having a connection. Talking about being creative. I mean, you hit all of it. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, if there were a checklist of all the right things that you were supposed to do, you got to check on every last one of them.
Wow.
So you should tell that story sometime, because I think it's a great, I personally thought it was a great story. So.
Thank you. And it was the most profound, emotional wedding that I've done. And that was the last weekend for sure. I will save that for an episode and talk in depth about that. But yeah, that's a perfect example of when I felt this is my calling and the reason and purpose behind what I do. It was the most powerful feeling and it had a profound impact on me for sure.
I want to, if I may, let me throw out a resource real quick before we go. And this is not it has nothing to do with what I do or any other DJ. But you and I have both just spoken about purpose, and I think purpose is extremely important. And for people to go, I don't get this purpose thing. Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K, does a TED Talk called "Start with Why."
Yes,
and it has turned into my anthem for what I do. And I've watched that video I don't know how many times. It's only like a 17-18 minute video.
Yes.
So if anybody watching, if you really want to understand why purpose is so important, why it is so valuable to you and your business and to the people you serve, go check out Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K, Start with Why. Just Google it. It'll come up as a TED Talk, and devote 18 minutes to that video. And I promise you, it will change you. It will most definitely change. The reason I think it's so important is because one of the things Simon says, and this is Simon says, it's a kind of fun. One of the things he talks about in his presentation is that people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. And so that makes a huge difference in the way in that first initial consultation, huge, the difference, because, and the other quote from him that is a part, again, of my anthem is that the goal is not to surround yourself with people who want what you have. The goal is to surround yourself with people who believe what you believe. Those are your target customers. Those are the people you want to work with. Those are the individuals that are going to pay more for your service. They're going to refer your service more. Those are the people that you want to work with. Whatever your purpose may be, it may not be the same as mine. It may not be the same as yours. It could be whatever your purpose is. Mm-hmm. If those people believe in your purpose, then that's your tribe. Those are the people you want to hang out with. I want that relationship. If I can't have that relationship, then I don't want to work with that couple. They're not my couple. Nothing against them. It's just that's not who I want to work with.
That makes sense. And you're going to do your best work for the people you have that connection with.
Who appreciate what I do.
Ron, thank you so much for coming on the show. What is the best way that DJs could get in touch with you to learn more about your workshops or anything about Ron Ruth?
Yeah, actually, contact me at ron@ronruth.com. Real easy, RONRUTH.com. Just send me an email there, and it's the greatest way to get a hold of me. I'm actually right now working on a website for ronruth.com, which hopefully will be up sometime in the near future. But I love helping people. Yeah. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to do whatever I can to, if what I have to offer you can be of benefit, then by all means let me know and I'll do what I can to help you out. So it's been a pleasure, Jim. Thank you so much for allowing me to ramble on.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much, Ron.
Thank you.